Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at one of the most interesting new heroes from Generation 28 in State of Survival, Robin, a new Control Rider hero. In this guide I want to focus on something more important than simply reading his skills. We will look at how Robin works together with the Lethal Landmine IV and with his dedicated legendary pet, the Fennec Fox. The skill levels I am using here are the maximum levels that regular players can realistically reach without using Syringe. Syringe upgrades are mainly available through expensive packages and the highest rewards from events like State vs State or Survival of the Fittest. So this guide is focused on setup that normal players can actually build. Let's start with Robin himself. His first important skill is Garden of Hunger. Every 4 turns, Robin attacks all enemy squads with parasitic seeds, dealing 150% damage and applying 4 stacks of poison for 4 turns. The interesting part is what happens after that. Every additional poison stack gives Robin 1 stack of nutrient. When he reaches 8 nutrient stacks, the seed blooms, consumes all nutrient stacks, and deals another 150% damage. This means Robin is not only applying damage over time, he is building toward another damage event. His second skill, Bloodscent, is especially important for his build. Every 2 turns, Robin attacks the enemy squad with the most bleed stacks. The attack deals 142.5% damage and increased by 5% for every bleed stack on the target, up to 8 stacks. So with 8 bleed stacks, the multiplier becomes much stronger. After the attack, Robin applies 4 more bleed stacks for 3 turns. And now we reach the most important part of his kit, Grasping Earth. Whenever an enemy takes skill damage from a friendly control style squad, Robin applies 1 stack of Entanglement, up to 5 stacks. Each stack increases the skill damage taken by the enemy by 3.75%. This is already very useful because Robin is making the enemy more vulnerable to further skill damage. But the real payoff comes when his parasitic seeds bloom twice. At the moment, Robin consumes all Entanglement stacks. Each consumed stack deals 100 damage and, even more importantly, silences the affected squad for 3 turns. And this is where Lethal Landmine becomes extremely interesting, because Lethal Landmine, especially on level 4, gives the hero an additional 200% damage against enemies that are silenced, disarmed or stunned. Robin can create silence himself through Grasping Earth. So we have a very clean synergy there. Robin applies control and builds Entanglement. His seeds eventually bloom twice, consuming the Entanglement stacks and silencing the enemy. Once the enemy is silenced, Lethal Landmine IV can activate its additional 200% damage effect. In other words, Robin is not simply using the Tempest arm randomly. His own skill rotation can create the exact condition required to activate it. Now let's look at the Fennec Fox. This legendary rider pet is another very interesting part of the setup. Echo Tracker increases the trigger chance of Cunning Insight by 5% and increases the enemy damage taken bonus by 54%. Most importantly, the description says this applies directly to Cunning Insight. This means the pet is directly improving one of the effects that Robin's rider setup can use, rather than giving us a completely unrelated bonus. The other 2 pet skills are also useful to Robin. Primal Roar increases friendly rider skill damage by 14% for 2 turns every 4 turns. That is a direct offensive bonus for Robin because he is a rider hero. Shadow Stalker is also very interesting. When friendly riders perform a base attack, the pet has a 60% chance to perform an additional base attack on the same target, with each extra attack dealing 300% damage. So the Fennec Fox is supporting both sides of Robin's gameplay, skill damage and additional attacks. And this is why I like the combination of Robin, Lethal Landmine IV and Fennec Fox. Robin creates a control condition. Grasping Earth increases skill damage taken and eventually creates silence. Lethal Landmine IV then gives us an additional 200% damage against that silenced target. At the same time, Fennec Fox improves rider performance and strengthens Cunning Insight. The important lesson here is that Robin is not just another damage hero. His value comes from setting up a chain: poison, bleed, entanglement, increased skill damage taken, silence, and finally additional damage from Lethal Landmine IV. For players who don't have access to Syringe upgrades, this is exactly the type of synergy I would look for. Robin's strength is not only in his individual numbers, it is in how his control mechanics can activate other parts of his build. So if you are planning to build Generation 28 heroes, Robin is definitely a hero worth understanding before investing your resources. And remember, the strongest setup is not always the one with the highest individual skill numbers. It is often the setup where the skills activate each other. That is exactly what we are seeing with Robin, Lethal Landmine IV and the Fennec Fox. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope this guide helps you understand how Robin can fit into your rider strategy.